Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Clues, Cues and Reviews, and today we're looking at Dragon Ball Super Chapter 9. So for those who haven't really been keeping up with the actual manga, who've been watching the anime, Dragon Ball Super is a monthly manga installment of you could say it's a continuation of Dragon Ball Z, but it basically lies within the gap of Dragon Ball Z and the last few episodes when they have that time skip. So let's get into it, I guess. And just to give you an idea, it's the first round, really. The first battle, Goku versus Botamo, is pretty much what it's all about. And there's a few other things that happen after that, which would ruin if I mention everything in the introduction. So without further ado, let's get into the review. So point number 1, the battle with Pratama. So we saw already in the previous chapter that he had some type of specialty that pretty much is in full effect this time round. So they're going blow for blow, but pretty much it's a one-sided affair, really. Goku is just kicking asses, taking numbers, and Pratama's not doing anything to retaliate. But at the same time, Pratama is coming through unscathed, undamaged. To which point Goku throws Kamehameha, and again he seems absolutely fine. So it asks the question, he goes, how does one preserve their strength? He's not going Super Saiyan, but will Super Saiyan make a difference? How does he defeat an opponent that he can't do any damage on because of his body type or his specific skill? And this triggers something for Goku. Goku uses his head for once, which is always a good character development if you ask me, and basically pushes his opponent down. Now, because Pratama, for all intents and purposes, is a round ball polar bear with a vest and Ugg boots on, he pretty much loses his balance straight away because he's got these really stick-thin legs, really skinny legs. He falls over, loses his balance. Goku grabs him by both of his legs, swings him around for a bit, and throws him out of the ring. So although he was in a disadvantaged situation because he didn't necessarily know how he could beat somebody physically, he used his head for once, which even Beerus kind of congratulated him on, to actually get through that fight. What this then does do is sets up the second bout straight away, which leaves Goku for the Universe 6 counterpart of Frieza, Frost, and I'll get that into point number 2. So point number 2, the matchup has ended with Botamo, and the second matchup has started with Frost, who starts off nothing like the Frieza of our universe, the Frieza we've all come to know and hate, and know and love. And he's very nice, he's very cordial, he's shaking hands, wishing Goku the best of luck, and then the battle starts. And it pretty much is a very backwards, to and fro. He lands a punch, It's kind of like back to back. One's doing an attack, the other one's doing an attack. And no one's really giving an inch, to the point where Whis says they're not really trying their best to hold him back. Eventually what does happen is the tide does turn and Goku lands a decent body shot, even commenting to Frieza saying, like, you hold him back, I know you probably just can't gauge my strength at the moment, but there's no need to hold back, show me your final form. To which Frost goes, I'm not holding back. What do you mean? How do you even know about something like this? And he says, I fought somebody just like you in my own universe. And Frost goes, I see. And then he starts transforming. Now this kind of shocks some of the audience, namely people on the Universe 6 side. They're saying it gets a bit worried and things like that. But to a lot of people's surprise, he turns into the third form of Frieza, not necessarily the final form or the second one, the third one. To which Vegeta gets pissed and he goes, final form my ass, that is not your final form. And to which Piccolo and Krillin says, but Goku hasn't seen these forms, so he wouldn't really know that, which sets off the next point. So point number 3, and pretty much is the last point leading up to the finale, I guess, or the end of this chapter. What pretty much happens is Goku doesn't recognize the transformation. He was like, this isn't quite the final transformation that I expected. Frost asks Goku what was the outcome of the battle between Frieza or the other version of him and Goku. And Goku goes, it's best not to ask, and Frost basically says it's not going to end that way on this time around. So they start engaging into battle, and it looks like Frost is winning. And everyone's like, oh yeah, it looks like our combatant is winning from our universe. Then it gets to a point where even the Elder Supreme kind of goes, is that really the case? And you see Goku boop, splat on the floor, and Frost is like, look, you should just give up, and just call it a day. Goku gets up, he's like, oh yeah, that's gonna walk me up now, man. Transforms. So as he transforms, this catches a lot of people off guard from Universe 6, which leads me to believe that because they are so surprised by it, that it might be a case where, because there may not be as many Saiyans that are that powerful, it's considered a really rare thing. So I'd imagine if you look at all our Saiyans that we've seen, that I've spoken about in the story, they've all become powerful, they've all at least become Super Saiyan. So meaning that you can transform probably is a really rare thing for them. It's probably very common for us because we see it all the time. So that made it interesting. But before Goku could actually land an attack, Frost basically transforms to his final form, to which Goku basically says, oh, a final form that I recognize, and that's where the chapter ends. So an interesting end to the chapter. I will have some final thoughts in just a moment, and we can go through things to expect, or what I expect should happen. So final thoughts. I wasn't obviously too enthralled by the way the whole Pratama thing went. It went relatively too simple, but one's out of the way. Things to bear in mind with this is the fact that it's fight to fight. So if this is a situation where Goku does manage to beat Frost, and being that he has transformed, he will be in a weakened state, and that will play to the advantage of the opponents. However, at the same time, this will give chance for people like Piccolo and potentially Vegeta to get in there. So an interesting dynamic when you think about it from the grand scheme of things. Also the thing with Frost pretending to be innocent when he may not be as innocent as he seems, because he played off like he didn't know anything about transforming, and then he goes, oh, how do you know about this? He goes, oh, I thought somebody like you, and then he transformed, and even then he didn't show his final form. So it was interesting to kind of see that even though he's pretending to be so good, he still is a bit tricky. But then again, it's battle, it's war, for what to expect. You got to hold your cards as close to your chest as you can, I guess. So an interesting chapter. I mean, there are some elements that made me think, for example, the whole transformation thing with the Universe 16 being so shocked about it. So it's interesting to see how that's going to play out, and hopefully we'll get to see what this other Saiyan from Universe 6 is all about. Hopefully the strongest one of them, and hopefully he can do something, maybe a blue transformation as well. We'll have to wait and see. That's all for me today, guys. Hope you enjoyed the review. Hope you're reading and catching up as I have been, and hopefully we'll see more from it. Cheers. Peace.